Streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, new details on a standoff in Cuero last night. We'll go over the charges the man now faces.
Progress continues in the Salvation Army's Life Enrichment Center. Hear from what the commanding officer has to say on the quick progress.
And 25 News Now sits down with an important figure to uncover Goliad's history through her family.
We're looking at a very hot weekend because now we've got a north wind and abundant sunshine and very low humidities. But don't give up. Next week, we've got a real good chance for rain, and we'll be talking about that in a moment.
And the Athlete of the Week showed out in front of a Texas Longhorn running back in their first district victory. That's coming up in sports.
25 News Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
New at 10, two San Antonio police officers are hospitalized with serious injuries after being shot during a domestic dispute call. KSAT reports the shooting happened around 7:30 Thursday night near the 1600 block of Amistad Pass on the northeast side. Both of the officers were transported to the hospital and are currently undergoing surgery.
Yesterday, the Cuero Police Department responded to the 100 block of Alamo Circle around 4:30 p.m. The person who made the call said earlier in the day a heated dispute involving a firearm occurred. It was later determined 61-year-old Franklin Fisher of Cuero was the person in distress and was described as suicidal. Following the investigation, it was discovered a firearm was discharged, leading to the arrest of Fisher. Fisher now charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Now, if you or a loved one is experiencing thoughts of suicide, please reach out to the 24/7 Crisis Lifeline at 988.
The Wharton County Sheriff's Office is trying to find out why a Wharton man died inside an intentionally set vehicle fire on County Road 142 Monday afternoon. Authorities tell the El Campo Leader News it's too early to say, adding the body of Basir Shanhani, reportedly of Wharton, has been transported to the Fort Bend County Medical Examiner's Office for autopsy. Hallettsville police arrested 32-year-old Leonard Rodriguez of Big Wells after a high-speed chase. Authorities tell us Rodriguez was traveling towards Hallettsville at speeds of around 100 miles an hour. The driver came to a stop on the 100 block of East 4th Street. Rodriguez charged with evading arrest in a motor vehicle. He is in the Lavaca County Jail in lieu of $20,000 bond.
The EPA is hosting a public meeting in Port Lavaca from 6 to 8 p.m. next Tuesday, October 24th. At the Bauer Community Center, there will be an update on activities at the Lavaca Bay Superfund site. The meeting concerns the red mud lakes near Cox Creek on the eastern side of Lavaca Bay. The EPA is considering additional sampling for mercury in the area that may be making its way into Cox Creek and onto Lavaca Bay.
Let's take a first look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. You know, we had these nice cooler temperatures. It was really nice to break away from the 90s. Mac, the 90s are back.
The 90s are back.
Don't give up, folks. Don't give up hope, because it's only for this weekend. And then next week, things start changing. Right about now, we're at 71. We did get up to 89. And tomorrow, I'm pretty sure we'll be in the 90s. That's not exactly where we're supposed to be. It's supposed to be, going down slowly. But we're watching the West Coast because moisture's coming in and our rain chances will be going up. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Mac, thank you. Texas House Democrats introduced what they called a transformative school finance plan in the state legislature special session today. The bill would give Texas teachers a $15,000 pay raise as well as a $5,500 bonus to support staff members. The proposal would change the formula for education funding to be based on enrollment rather than attendance. The Democrats remain against legislation that would tie an increase for public school funding to school vouchers. Texas is set to receive millions of dollars in funding toward expanding its power grid. The Biden administration announced 4 projects are slated for Texas. Among the projects in Texas are San Antonio utility CPS Energy's $32 million planned construction of microgrids based around solar and battery energy. Xcel Energy, which has power plants, wind farms, and transmission lines in Texas, was awarded $142 million to strengthen its system against extreme weather and wildfire.
Early voting in the state's constitutional amendment election starts next Monday. Proposition 1 would add farming and ranching practices to the Texas Bill of Rights. The proposition asks voters to add the right to engage in farming, ranching, timber production, and wildlife management to Article 1 of the Texas Constitution. Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th. So here is your viewer poll tonight. You can scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, how do you plan to vote on Texas Proposition 1, for it or against it? According to these results, it's looking like 56 are for it and 44% stand against it.
That is a 10% point swing from 6 o'clock. It was 44 for and 56 against, something like that.
Something
yeah,
something
there
happened. All righty. Well, thank you for voting tonight. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part.
During Hispanic History Month, 25 News Now has covered some important icons within the local Hispanic community.
That's right. 25 News Now weekend anchor Adam Seibold interviewed one local important figure.
That's right, Don and Karina. I traveled to Goliad today to sit down with Estela Zermino and her extensive historic knowledge on not only her family's history, but on Texas history. Tucked away at the end of a back road in Goliad, you'll find the home of Estela Zermino and her husband, William. You'd never know it, but behind their home is a museum. It's a trilogy of Estela's familia history, local history of Texas, and Hispanic history. Estela has dedicated her life to history to understand the stories and events her family hold. Her grandmother instilled in her the value of history.
Because of my paternal grandmother, she was born in Refugio, where all the land that they had was. And she knew a lot of history, and she told me a lot of history. She even wrote a letter telling about what had happened there in Refugio to them.
One part of history Estela would like others to know is what's commonly known as the Goliad Massacre. Wasn't actually a massacre, but an execution.
He brought them back to the Presidio, to La Badia, and they didn't have nothing to feed them. Even the Mexican soldiers were here. They were hungry. So how could they keep them leaving? So they took them out into the fields and they shot them. One group here, another group by the Presidio, and another group west, east, the Presidio and west. And that's when they killed them.
So that wasn't a massacre, or was it different then?
It had to be an execution.
So instead of the Goliad Massacre, what would be a better title for it?
Execution. I'm not going to deny that, they killed him. It was an execution.
Born and raised in Goliad, Estela would find that her family history is directly tied to Texas history. She spent much of her life in courthouses, city halls, and county offices to recover first-hand documents and certificates to uncover her genealogy and fact-check her historical records. Over time, the collection of all these documents resulted in a large historical collection, so in 2015 actually built her backyard museum, which she said is open to the public and everyone's welcome, named the Alamito, not to be confused with the Alamo.
And he called it El Alamito. Not Alamo, the Alamito. Well, I didn't intend for it to be a museum that people would be interested in. I wanted to do it for my family, because I wanted my family to know their history.
All of this stuff, it didn't fit in the house, so we got a local carpenter to build this place for us, and she called it El Alamito.
He's also helped get numerous historical markers placed around Goliad, all to show her love for history.
It's just that I love history. I love history, since I was a young girl, my grandmother gave me a lot of history, and I wanted to continue learning more. And that's the reason that I went around asking questions and borrowing pictures, and I would make my own pictures from that picture, and that's how I finally said, I got to put all of this together and show it off to everybody.
So if you want to check out this cool, tucked-away museum full of Texas history, give the Goliad Historical Society a call, or just come to crossroadstoday.com for more information. Reporting in Goliad, Adam Seibold, KAVU-TV 25 News Now. Now for the full 40-minute interview with Estela, come to our website, Crossroads Today. We covered a ton of Texas history, some really interesting stuff. Don, Karina, back to you.
Adam, thank you. Progress is being made in building the Salvation Army of Victoria's Life Enrichment Center. Construction started September 1st at the Salvation Army's home office, 1302 North Lewis Street. The center will be about 2,000 square feet. It will have a classroom that can hold 12 people at one time with computers in that classroom. There will be a library and study area in the Life Enrichment Center, as well as a medical room where people can get wound care, assessments, and referrals. There will be a computer station and a laundry facility. The Salvation Army of Victoria got a $250,000 grant from the City of Victoria for the Life Enrichment Center.
But it's so exciting to finally see this happen. This was really the vision of our city manager, Jesus Garza. And this came about about 3 years ago this month. And so it's finally now coming to fruition. And we're very excited, very excited.
Captain Jones told us he believes the Life Enrichment Center could be open by mid-November. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. Investigators are looking into recent crashes by driverless taxis. That's coming up on 25 News Now at 10. The details in their safety probe.
Also ahead, a new COVID vaccine ahead of the winter season. Five of the 6 students and a bus driver who were hospitalized after a crash involving a school bus and an 18-wheeler Wednesday in San Antonio have been released. KSAT reports there is one victim who is still recovering in the hospital, but district officials said the middle school student was in stable condition. 20 middle school students were on the bus when it was hit by an 18-wheeler. Authorities said the trailer ran a red light before it struck the bus. Now, more driverless cars are hitting the road, but there are concerns about safety after several recent crashes involving robo-taxis.
Federal investigators want to know if automakers have enough safeguards for pedestrians in place.
The future is here, but is it a good thing? Several recent crashes involving driverless cars are reigniting safety concerns.
These are big vehicles that can inflict damage if there are crashes or if they hit pedestrians and bicyclists and so on.
Earlier this month, a woman in San Francisco was struck by a hit-and-run driver and then hit a second time by a robo-taxi operated by Cruise, a subsidiary of General Motors. In a statement, a crew spokesperson said the initial impact was severe and launched the pedestrian directly in front of the AV. The AV then braked aggressively to minimize the impact. It's one of two such incidents reported to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which said it also identified two further incidents. Engineering professor Ram Pandiala says it makes sense. Federal investigators want to know if the company has enough pedestrian safeguards in place.
This is NHTSA just exercising due diligence, as with all vehicles and all technologies.
A crew spokesperson said it will cooperate with the probe. Pandiala lives in Arizona, where robo-taxis operate.
A lot of folks who take those rides, they are surprised as to how amazing the experience is. I think we'll just have to see how the data really demonstrates the potential benefits from a safety standpoint.
Pfizer is increasing the cost of its COVID-19 antiviral drug Paxlovid beginning next year. The drug will be on the market at the cost of $1,390. It's more than double the $529 the federal government paid for Paxlovid. Health insurance plans will likely pay much less for Paxlovid, so patients could have reduced costs. The drug was shown to reduce the risk of severe disease and death from COVID-19 among vulnerable patients like those with diabetes, heart conditions, or a weakened immune system. A new COVID-19 vaccine from scientists connected to Duke University is showing early promise.
That's right, and here's more on that research.
This is the cell type that we...
It's never too early to start work on providing protection for future outbreaks.
We know from looking at history that coronavirus outbreaks occur about every 7 to 9 years.
Dr. Kevin Saunders is Associate Director of the Duke Human Vaccine Institute. His team created a trivalent vaccine targeting MERS coronavirus and two forms of SARS coronavirus.
What we're trying to do is predict what would be the next coronavirus. If it's a SARS-related virus, then we want to have antibodies that are able to recognize multiple SARS-related viruses. If it's a MERS-related virus, then we want to have antibodies that can recognize multiple MERS coronaviruses.
It's taken about 3 years to get to this point, and the work is far from finished. But initial results in mice are promising, and the overall development of a platform allows for future adaptability.
The same technology that we can use to broaden the response against these 3 coronaviruses that we know are human pathogens, we can use that same technology to make it broader or to apply it to other coronaviruses. So if there's other viruses that come in the future, we use the same platform, the same technology, and we can modify the vaccine to be effective against other pathogens that may come along.
That's important, as the form of a future coronavirus outbreak is unknown.
Where we are trying to develop a vaccine where you would be immunized with this vaccine and would have protection against multiple different coronaviruses, and that you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about the coronavirus that's coming in the future because you would have broad immunity against multiple different coronaviruses.
A vaccine using similar technology to this one is slated to undergo clinical trials next year, which could provide valuable insight into how this could work in humans. All of this research being conducted as North Carolina is reporting a decrease in the percent of emergency department visits for respiratory virus and COVID-like illness, as well as hospital admissions in the past week.
This year's extreme heat may cost the state's economy $24 billion. You can read the full story by the Texas Tribune on our CrossroadsToday.com website.
Well, good evening, everyone. Right now, your temperature is at 71, and you're thinking, well, it's October. Shouldn't it be getting cooler? Well, it should be, but not this weekend. In fact, tomorrow will be in the 90s. Our high today was officially 89. Now, why do I have hope for next week in terms of rain? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Well, good evening, everyone. If you have outdoor plans this weekend, no problem. You're going to have a terrific Friday night for football, really good Saturday. Just, you won't need a jacket. That's the only thing. No sweaters, none of that, because it's going to be pretty hot. Sometime in the middle of this afternoon, the north wind started kicking in. You might feel it by morning, and that north wind is what we were waiting for, that dry line. And that dry line is going to give us the dry air that's going to give us the sunshine. Well, okay, the dry line is the dry air, then the sunshine, and then the warm temperatures. But don't give up hope, because as you can see, over the next 48 hours, all the way to Saturday, we start picking up some cloud cover coming in from the west. Now, the first stuff is not going to be very dense. You know, here's your atmosphere, right? First, it's going to be high-level clouds, then mid-level clouds, then low-level clouds, and finally, when we're completely stacked with moisture, will we get any precipitation out of it? So that won't be until about Tuesday of next week. So we're going as far forward as I can on this model, and you can see how the remnants of the storm definitely will be affecting far west Texas and hopefully our area as well. So 65, 58, the overnight low here in Victoria tonight, not particularly bad. And then tomorrow, though, we'll get up to about 92 and even 97 up in Austin, 95 in San Antonio. We're going, hey, yeah, okay, just for 2 days. And then after that, we start getting the cloud deck. Now, watch Future Tracker. We start on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We watch the rain come in. And all the way to Tuesday, it has the heaviest rain up in North Texas and some significant rain around our area. Now, that's the computer model now, and it's, 4 or 5 days out. Give it a break. Tomorrow on Friday, we'll have a much closer indication as to where all of that rain is going to go. Where it's coming from is from this. This is Norma, and right now Norma is at 120 miles an hour. It's a big hurricane, and that will likely have a lot of problems for Cabo San Lucas and the area down at the tip of Baja. Then you can see it turn, then you can see it fall apart, but that moisture's got to go somewhere. So it's going to widen up over much of the desert and then drift into Texas. That's why I say the cloud deck is going to start high, then get thicker and thicker as the days go on. So high pressure is going to give us the sunshine for tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. And then after that passes through, then we watch to see the remnants of that system. That's Norma. Then there's this little frontal system that's going to help push it through. So the chances of rain going on into middle of next week are pretty good. So all of a sudden, weather is returning to our area. If you get a chance to go do a little fishing tomorrow morning, your sunrise is at 7:32. Your high temperature tomorrow in Port Lavaca gets up to 91. Your high temperature in Cuero gets you up to 94. Lots of sun. Pretty good looking weekend if you want to do grilling or watch certain baseball games, right? Baseball games? Yeah. Little baseball. Oh, college ball, all that stuff. If you want to, if you happen to be interested in that stuff, I know some of you are. The northerly winds today, then warm and humid. Then we start picking up the cloud deck and hopefully a little rain coming in next week. That's your 7-day forecast. I want to remind everybody we do have a QR code, and we will want you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on your phone. You are talking baseball, right?
I am, but I don't know if I'm that interested in it. Maybe I am. I'm just kidding, y'all. This game was close until it wasn't. We have highlights coming up after the break. At Crossroads, the athlete of the week was a tough one to pick this week because there were multiple athletes across the Crossroads who had monster games, including the running back from Hallettsville. Normally, Friday the 13th means bad luck, superstitions, or can even be a bit scary. But the only thing that was scary on Friday night was how terrifying Jay-Sean Price was on the football field. The 150-pound running back had a big game, but he said he could not do it alone.
I have to give it to, the linemen and the receivers that were out there blocking, letting me, hit the outside and getting to the touchdown and end zone and just running fast.
Along with being named the athlete of the week, Price was named the offensive and scout team player of the week by his team. First-year Brahma head football coach Levi Montgomery said Price has to be forced off the field at times because of his dedication.
Well, there's two things I'll say about this young man here. The first thing, and I tell him, and always have it, is pound for pound, he's a tough high school football player as you're going to find. Not only is he pound for pound the toughest guy, I think, in this area of Texas, but he's also a heck of a teammate and will jump in on the scout team and do everything he can to help his team win. He's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Friday the 13th was big for Price because he got to see a person he admires go on and do great things, as well as having a big game on the football field. That person is Texas running back Jonathan Brooks, who was in attendance to have his number retired for his success as a Brahma and Longhorn.
He's a great running back, and, I looked up to him and, seeing him play and getting his job done when he was in high school, just, hometown hero.
Price showed out in front of the Brahma crowd that were repping maroon and orange alike, which you only see during rivalry games at UT. But the 5'8" senior did his job effectively, scoring 4 touchdowns and totaling 98 yards on only 6 carries. On defense, he had 1 sack and 2 QB hurries on his way to becoming the athlete of the week. And Game 4 of the ALCS looks similar to Game 3 in favor of the Astros. This bomb by Bregman puts it just out of reach for 2 runs to score. And is he going to go to third? Yes, he is, and he's in safely for the triple. But that's not all. Yordan Alvarez, he knocks one back up the middle for another score to bring in Bregman and the Rangers in the hole early in the first inning. But the Rangers come roaring back with this 2 home runs. This one was the first one. That's a no doubt over the left field wall, and it would be tied going into the bottom of the third after this home run, but the final score would be 10-3. The Astros win and tie the series up at 2. There's one more game left in Arlington before they come back to Houston. Well, that's your sports. Don and Karina, back to you.
Don's over here excited. Max over here excited. The whole studio's excited. Yeah, we're Astros fans here. All righty. Well, thank you, Gino, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, I would hate to make you guys hungry before the end of the day, but tomorrow is Chicken and Waffles Day, and these images, whew, pretty tasty.
Plans to buy Pulse nightclub for a permanent memorial to the victims of the 2016 mass shooting there. The sale is pending final approval from City Council at Monday's meeting. 49 people were killed and several others were hurt when a 29-year-old shooter opened fire at the popular gay nightclub. The city plans to buy the 4,500 square foot commercial building for $2 million. Caught on camera, a school bus driver in Dallas saved a 7-year-old boy who was choking on her bus. The Dallas ISD team lead driver was covering a route when a 7-year-old boy began choking. The bus driver pulled over to help the student while asking another parent to call 911. After helping the student, 25 cents came out of his throat and his mouth. The student promised that he would not do that again. And since that day, his mother wanted to thank the bus driver in person. She could have not been more grateful. It was her who saved her son. Heads up by that bus driver saving a life.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Kids,
And that boy knows now.
That's right.
He knows now.
25 cents? What
And
was
he
he
knows
doing?
who's. He was just goofing.
He was being a
around.
kid. That's what he was doing.
You know,
Yeah.
putting things in his mouth. But for her to get off and do the Heimlich, it's pretty amazing.
That's right.
Well, folks, we got some warm weather this weekend. Not exactly October-like, so you know, do some warm weather stuff. You know, play in the yard, barbecue, watch baseball, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, we're optimistic that by middle of next week we should see some clouds and some rain around here, and temperatures will get back to the mid-80s. A little bit beyond that, I mean, I'm talking by Halloween, I think some much cooler weather is going to be here. In fact, right now I'm going to say Halloween will be in the upper 60s to low 70s as high temperatures. So let's just keep our fingers crossed on that one. And that's kind of your 7 to 14-day outlook.
Alrighty, thank you, Mac. Now it's time to celebrate a favorite sweet and savory soul food favorite, because tomorrow, Friday, is National Chicken and Waffles Day. One House of Chicken and Waffles in Southern California founded the day in 2021, and it's now celebrated yearly on October 20th. Chicken and waffles is hearty, satisfying, sweet, and you can have it for breakfast and dinner. The pairing has been around for more than 150 years, and this meal was a staple of both African Americans and the Pennsylvania Dutch. So no matter how you celebrate National Chicken and Waffles Day, just be sure to invite me, specifically me, because I will be there.
It became popular in the early 1900s in Harlem because African Americans would go out to the show and they would be there 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 or 2 in the morning, and they were hungry. So they thought, well, wait a minute, it's too late to have chicken, it's too early to have waffles, let's have both.
Let's have both.
That's how it is.
And I'm thankful for that every day. All righty, well, thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10.
Join Carolina Astroain, meteorologist Parker Cox. 25 News Now, sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everybody.